Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. Today I want to talk Dead or Alive. It's a franchise that's meant a lot to me over the years. Got a lot of hours in just about all of the games. Hell, the very first video on this channel ever is a Dead or Alive video. I learned how to edit video to make that. I like me some Dead or Alive. So why make this video now? Well, there definitely was an event that caused it. Very unfortunately, Tomonobu Itagaki, the creator of Dead or Alive, passed away last month. And it made myself and many others sort of just kind of reflect on Itagaki himself and just Dead or Alive as a whole, because Dead or Alive is very much his baby. And that's basically the purpose of this video. We're just going to talk Dead or Alive and many of the things that made the franchise of Dead or Alive great. And yes, great. Now, I'm Mr. Fighting Game YouTuber, and I've been around since as long as you could be around. So I'm under no disillusion here that the reputation of DOA is a bit up and down with the community as a whole. And for a lot of that, I just think because a lot of people just aren't familiar with the franchise. Now, granted, a lot of the criticisms thrown at DOA, they're fair enough. Like, did Dead or Alive start as a cheap Virtua Fighter ripoff? Like, yeah, absolutely. So did basically almost every single 3D fighting game franchise that came out after Virtua Fighter. It was the first. It was the template. Everyone else copied it, like Tekken. Tekken is absolutely a Virtua Fighter ripoff franchise. However, Dead or Alive, like Tekken, eventually found its own niche, its own groove, right? It became its own game. So copycat origins, sure, maybe, like, you can't really argue it, but it absolutely grew to be its own thing. And then another big complaint, I guess I'll use the modern parlance for this, is that Dead or Alive is Gooner game. And you know what? Yeah, a little bit, I guess. It's part of the game's identity, the sexy ladies. It helped it rise above the rest, that you would know the name Dead or Alive as compared to another fighting game. And especially early on with the power of technology, they definitely understood how to use physics. And like, I'm no Puritan, that's nothing bad in and of itself. Although, maybe the volleyball games were a bit much. But then again, they wouldn't have made them and made so many of them if there wasn't an audience for it. Can't fault them for doing what works. Because, especially on that note, all you can really accuse them of was being ahead of the curve. Realistically, other franchises surpassed Dead or Alive on the sexy lady front. Take a look at like modern, current Street Fighter. If you've ever thrown Dead or Alive under the bus for the presentation of the ladies, you have to condemn the entire genre of fighting games at this point, because that's sort of where we wound up. Itagaki was simply a man before his time, if anything. So, Gooner game for Dead or Alive maybe, but everyone wound up at that point. What's truly important in the end is the gameplay. You know, gameplay over graphics, right, folks? We've agreed about that for a very long time, at least most of us. And the gameplay for Dead or Alive has always been there. Maybe the public perception is it maybe wasn't, you know, especially ahead of all the sexy ladies, but the franchise truly is a great fighting game franchise. I would not be making this video if it wasn't. To that exact point, emulation on older Dead or Alive games, especially stuff like Dead or Alive 4, is not great, and I wanted to make this video right. So I literally bought an Xbox just to make this one video. So this is the part where I'll ask you, you know, click the like and subscribe and all that usual stuff, right? Because this video is going to put me in the red just to make it. But I have so many genuinely fond memories of Dead or Alive over the years that if you do not know much about this franchise and why the people who love it, I want this video to help you understand why it's just such a cool damn franchise. Like, some of it's pretty apparent, right? Like, the aesthetic presentation of this is unmatched. Like, I don't think really any fighting game has ever had a better overall presentation just of like combat flow, how the fight looks. Because it looks good, right? But I specifically want to highlight three things. I guess we could call it the three pillars of Dead or Alive. The characters themselves, the reversal system, which is very much at the heart of a lot of the gameplay, and the stages. And you know, usually in a fighting game, stages are usually just window dressing. Maybe you have a corner combo or whatever. Stages are as much the gameplay of anything else that is Dead or Alive. So I want to talk those three things. So first, let's talk the characters. Now, naturally, any fighting game, the characters are sort of the heart and soul of just the game itself, right? You need a decent roster if you want to stand out. And granted, Dead or Alive, like any fighting game, has stronger and weaker characters, you know, like Rig. Rig's got his fans. But do more people know who Ayane is than Rig? Yeah, you betcha, right? Like, if you got to pick out the standout characters of the franchise, it certainly is Kasumi, who is our runaway ninja, Ayane, who is our more vengeful ninja, and Hayabusa, who is the super ninja. And Hayabusa is actually one of the earlier guest characters of fighting games, as, you know, he's not from Dead or Alive, he's from Ninja Gaiden, right? And Ninja Gaiden's been around for a very, very long time. In fact, we just had, as of the time of making this video anyways, Ninja Gaiden 4 just come out, and, you know, he's got his adventures continue, and actually Ayane also appears in that game too. So, you know, redesign for a character that hasn't had a new design in some years, because Dead or Alive's been on ice for a good while, right? So maybe that is something hopeful for the future. And the thing that helps sell a lot of these characters in Dead or Alive, besides the fact, you know, the ladies are very pretty and Hayabusa's cool as hell, right, is just how you play as them. It feels like playing an action game inside of a fighting game. Like, even just basic stuff, like a basic throw for Kasumi has like that cool like ninja slide attack. Basic stuff in Dead or Alive would feel like super moves in other games, just like really common scenarios, right? Like, Kasumi can just be all over the place and just be on top of you, like, non-stop, just aggression while looking super cool. Ayane is the master of fighting while back-turn in all the fighting games. Like, a lot of people have tried, a lot of people have back-turn offense in 3D fighters, but nobody does it like Ayane. And Hayabusa, well, very few characters have ever felt as silly in a fighting game as Hayabusa has. Like, this dude is just absolute nutter. If you're looking just for like that ninja experience, like, he's literally, well, he's the super ninja, right? Like, he's kind of the guy to do it. And then we got the wrestlers. Dead or Alive does very good by the wrestlers. It has more than a few. Tina is definitely the famous one for at least a couple of reasons. But just the presentation of wrestlers is great. There's so many like good chain grabs and stuff like that. And most people find that fun in 3D fighters. Not everybody. But just so many little things, like basic kick, right? In this game, for Tina, like, that's a chance to do an enziguri. We know, classic wrestling move, and it's a bit of a timing mechanic. You have to do it as it hits, but, you know, it's fun to do. 3D fighters being 3D fighters, you can't have a wrestler without a giant swing, and, of course, we got a pretty big giant swing here. And then there's people like Bass, right? Like, Bass is this horrific fusion of Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Macho Man Randy Savage. And if you like, you know, more power aspects of wrestling, he's definitely that guy, because he's got a lot of the big boy moves that you would expect. And then we have people like La Mariposa, otherwise known as Lisa. Lisa is definitely like the best representative of Lucha Libre in all of fighting games, just flat out. Not the least of which is on stuff like, you know, there's more than a few wrestling aligned stages. Like, she can interact with them in, like, the usual 3D way. Like, oh, it's like a wall, right? So I can, like, jump off it and then treat it like a wall jump and, like, bounce off like some more agile characters than some 3D fighters can. But it's a lot more than that, because, like, she can actually use the ropes. And that's a bit different. So if the stage doesn't have ropes, she can't do moves like that. And when it comes to, like, lucha stuff, like all sorts of ranas, all sorts of like around the worlds, and then just a bunch of classic wrestling stuff. Like, how about a driver into a standing moonsault, right? Like, the wrestling stuff is well respected in Dead or Alive. And there's always, you know, the proclivity to make Dead or Alive all about the ladies, but like, it's got some great guy characters. Like, Zack and Jan Lee are two of the coolest fighting game characters ever. Like, Zack's a butthead's butthead for sure, right? Like, he's a silly dude. Like, Zack is the holder of the Zac beam. Like, yes, that was an actual beam. It's a taunt. It's not meant to be when you matches, right? But he's just a silly dude. And dude's just like a Muay Thai monster. Like, we always gotta have to have a Muay Thai character, right? He's our Muay Thai character. And he's vicious about, like, lots of knees, lots of kicks. And he's always been one of the best characters at, like, abusing the mind game portion of Dead or Alive due to his kicks being very easy to stop. But when is he going to stop? Which angle he's going to go for? Like, there's layers to it. And Jan Lee is simply the best Bruce Lee clone in all of fighting games. Like, there's a million Bruce Lee clones. There's too many Bruce Lee clones, if anything, right? But of all the myriad, of all the many, he is the one that rises above the rest as far as I'm concerned. He's loud, he's annoying, he's got his dragon kick. It's unblockable, by the way, Dead or Alive. Like, you have to either be out of the way or you have to counter it. There's no other way out. And it's fast enough that it's gonna get you. He's just a cool dude. Like, that's really all I can say. And Dead or Alive is a franchise very famous for the guest characters. You might notice these characters here, if you know them, they're not from Dead or Alive. They're from Virtua Fighter. And that, when at the time, was cool as hell. You know, some people might complain about guest characters here and there, right? Nobody complained about this. I remember when Mai and Terry got announced for Street Fighter 6. A lot of people are like, wow, it's kind of like your cousins are coming over, because Fatal Fury and Street Fighter are very linked. If Mai and Terry going to Street Fighter was like your cousins coming over, the Virtua Fighter cast being in Dead or Alive was like your parents were coming over. And one of the beautiful things is, on top of the characters just being in the game, that's cool enough as it is, right? Is they translate over beautifully, because the rules of the two games are similar enough, and then they keep what's unique to them. Like, say Jackie here. In Virtua Fighter, Jackie, if he lets go of block, he has a standing punch counter. That's still in this game, right? In Dead or Alive, like, counters are very common, but you have to, like, manually call your shot. No, Jackie gets to keep his unique thing he has in VF. I don't even need to pre-check this for the video, right? I know that back kick will put me in flamingo, and down forward kick will do my down forward crumple, right? Because that's how it works in Virtua Fighter. I legitimately did not pre-check that. I haven't played Sarah in years in this game. But if it works in Virtua Fighter 5, it worked in this game for the most part, barring rare exceptions. Like, they just kind of ported all the animations over, and everything just looks good. Like, the one fault, especially for older versions of Virtua Fighter 5, is the character models didn't look the best, right? Well, Dead or Alive don't got that problem. The character models look gold in here. And there's been plenty of other guest characters as well, and in weird ways, like we had now Tora Lee, who's from Samurai Warriors, like not even Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors. That's not even the big name one, right? But, you know, they own the IP, so it's the same company. I guess it's cheap to license, right? And of course, naturally, I'd be very remiss to not mention one of the big ones, one of the biggest guests of all time, which was the Spartan in Dead or Alive 4. And being Dead or Alive, this isn't Master Chief. This is a lady Spartan. This was Nicole, by the way. And yeah, like the sick plasma grenade throw, everyone remembers that. Realistically, the character was a little lazy. Other than a few unique Halo-inspired moves, it was very much just a mixture of the moveset of Leon and Bayman. Guests don't tend to survive game to game, but at least they kept the moveset. So the Spartan moveset minus the Halo-specific moves did move on and live on through Rachel in later games. So that's cool. But that's the characters. I could spend a lot more on that, but that's just a little overview, I guess. But let's talk about gameplay, and let's talk about like the core aspect of the gameplay, and that's the counter system. You know, 3D fighters, there's a lot of shared DNA kind of just stemming back to Virtua Fighter. You know, you got your highs, you got mids, you got all sorts of lows, and you got all sorts of throws. And, you know, that's sort of 3D fighting 101, right? What makes Dead or Alive very unique compared to the other 3D fighters, though, is the counter system. It's not to say there's not counter attacks in, you know, like Tekken or VF, or of course there is, right? But the thing is, a counter attack in Tekken or say Virtua Fighter, that's a specialist trait, right? In this game, in this franchise, everybody's a master of counters, and that's just the core game. So originally it worked in three ways, up to Dead or Alive 3 anyway. So there was high counters, and high counters, well, they beat high attacks. Fair enough, right? Like, as you would expect, not too difficult to understand. There's mid counters, and mid counters beat all sorts of mids. Doesn't matter what kind of strike it is. Highs will beat all highs, mid counter beat all mid, and of course, naturally, process elimination. If someone's attacking you with a low, the low counter will beat all lows. Like, so if you knew something was coming, you had it effectively dead to rights. So that was the early Dead or Alive, starting with Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, and yes, Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate came out after Dead or Alive 3. This was like the first online experience for Dead or Alive. We changed it up a bit. So high counter and low counter, that's still the same, but they split up the mids. So there's a specific mid punch counter that's back and free. That's your block button. And there's a specific mid kick counter. The thing is, not always, but the majority of the good launchers in the game are mids. So if you were scared of getting launched, you know, go for a panic mid counter, you probably get it. So they split them up. So mid punch became its own counter, and mid kick became its own explicit counter. And just to add to this whole counter thing, the counters, they're what we would call frame one. They happen instantly, and they're pretty active. The window to land a counter is very large. So they're quite strong. And yes, just before we go into it, like, oh, you just spam like crazy. There's reasons you don't want to do that. We're going to get into it. We're going to cover everything here. But the counter system as a whole is what makes DOA DOA, because if you know what's coming, you never, ever, ever have to be susceptible to it. Because every character is a defensive master. Autopilot, in a lot of ways that works in a lot of fighting games, does not work here. If you know something's coming, it's as simple as just doing the appropriate counter, you're out. The flow chart, as it were, it don't work the same. So if you got a read on your enemy, you always have them dead to rights. And that's what is so fun about this franchise. If you smell something rotten coming, you do not have to deal with it. You can just go, boom, I'm out, you're done. Now, to talk even more upsides of counters, there can be bonuses. So say I know for a fact, right, this low kick's coming, boom, send them on their way. But I love that animation for Ayane. I've always loved it. It's so satisfying. Just absolutely just booting you in the head, right? Now, here's a regular one, right? If you get the timing perfect, you'll see counter hold instead. So you'll actually just get a little bit of bonus damage. And some of the roster, like we already talked about, like everyone's a counter master in this game compared to a normal 3D fighter, right? But some characters are even more advanced counter masters, and they have like extra culled shots. Like Bayman, if you just hit up, back, and your free button, your hold button, it'll just get all highs, right? Sure. But he has two specific advanced counters. Forward, up, back, and hold will only get high punches. Back, up, forward, and hold will only get high kicks. So say a regular high's coming here, right? Here's his regular high counter. And you can get a little extra sass on that. But if I have the specific called shot here, and I know it's a high punch coming my way, then I can get a completely different counter. And this one's not multi-part, so you can't potentially break out of it early. So much same here. Like, we got a high kick coming our way, right? Here's like the generic one. And if we specifically know it's coming here, we have the called shot. And this one's even better, right? So it just rewards knowing what your opponent's going to do. Okay, so lots of upsides here. What are the weaknesses? So someone's just spamming counters, just rolling the dice, right? How do we stop it? Because once again, they're fast, they're very active, and they actually recover pretty quick. Like, it's somewhat difficult to whiff punish them. As you can see, I just got smoked out of it. Well, here's issue number one. If you are, spamming too many counters, everyone can throw, right? And oh no, what did that say? I said high counter throw. So here's that regular base throw again, right? Doesn't do that much damage normally. You catch someone just spamming counters and you throw them, it'll always be a high counter throw and you'll always get more damage. That's my basic throw. If I knew something a bit more advanced, the damage starts getting a bit more advanced. So if you know the opponent's going to counter, just go for a throw and you can get a very sizable chunk of damage on them. Especially with certain throws, they'll be extra spicy. And say you're a character who's predisposed to have better than average grabs. Like, this could just legitimately just be a game over scenario in and of itself. Like, even baby throws now become, like, potentially game overs, right? So you gotta watch out. Like, in a lot of ways, it makes most of the cast just grapplers, right? Because throw beats counter in such a very dramatic way that everyone's going to do it, so everyone's going to get some pretty major damage off of throws. And keeping in mind, everyone's a grappler. Another thing that's strong about counters is low counter also puts you in low profile. So like highs will go over your head, right? You have to hit them with a mid or a low. And to counteract that, everyone has a crouching grab. Like at least one. Like Sarah, I'm doing this, right? Sarah does not have a crouch grab in Virtua Fighter. They had to give her one for Dead or Alive. And of course, then, you know, some people have better crouching throws than others. Like Lisa has a straight up launcher and a full combo if you can get the timing right. Then there's also stuff like offensive holds, which are like catch throws in Virtua Fighter. There's all sorts of air throws. Like everyone's a grappler in the game, thanks to the counter system. Basically, just some grapple better than others. So now I made that seem pretty scary, right? Because like, well, why would I risk getting grabbed? Like, I'll just block. Screw it, right? I don't want to take a double damage grab or whatever, right? Because the thing is, and why this works the way it all works, is because you kind of, at certain points, have to do it. You have to make educated guesses. So Dead or Alive has the stun system. And when you're stunned, you can't do much else other than counter. Like, if I put you in stun here, okay, it says stun. And then, say like back punch, right? Back punch doesn't launch in and of itself. If you're stunned, oh, you better believe you're going for the ride. And now, normally wouldn't launch. Boom, I got a little combo, right? So you don't want to get launched. But when you're in that stun state, your only option is counter. And so many basic things will put you in stun state here. So like, just forward kick, right? Just basic knee. A short stun state, not a long one. So I couldn't go for that launch, right? But I could do something else, put you in an even bigger stun state, then launch you. And every time you're in stun, you basically have a chance to get out. Or, depending on the game, because say like Dead or Alive 6 is not a thing, or you can basically like mash inputs and you can escape the stun faster. So now you're in stun, okay. Educated guess on what I'm going to do next. Because like the launcher, that's probably a good bet. Or maybe I can milk the stun. Like I can do small hits to help extending the stun. Like my personal risk is very high, but going for like a high right here is something you probably wouldn't expect when I have a mid punch launcher and a mid kick launcher. Like I'm heavily incentivized to do one of the big mids, right? Not so much like a low or a high because I get almost no reward. But then again, because I get almost no reward, that's not exactly what you're looking to counter. But then again, now I got you scared. I got you mashing counter. Oh, now I'll take that throw, right? And take a giant chunk of your life. Like that's sort of the essence of the mental stack in Dead or Alive. You'll do whatever you're going to do. You know, attack the enemy. Try to build up that stun state. Try to keep them in stun state. The longer you can, then you can get a launcher. You can get a combo. But every time you put them in stun state, they can either try to counter out or just like kind of mash and try to shake out of the stun. If I'm waiting to see the counter and go for my big throw to get the counter bonus and you just shake out a stun, well, you kind of got out, right? And maybe you'll shake out a stun and then start attacking me, right? And that's another thing too. Like Virtua Fighter, with rare exceptions, you cannot be thrown while you're attacking. But basically everything about the general gameplay flow all revolves around the counter in some way. The counters are very powerful by design, and because they're very powerful, you cannot just autopilot like you can in so many other fighting games. But they have very distinct weaknesses in that they're super weak to being thrown, and you'll be put into a lot of situations where your only real option is you kind of have to counter, right? And the more you're forced to counter, the more, you know, those hungry eyes looking for that big damage throw are coming after you. And it leads to a game where obviously all the characters have their various moves, have various archetypes, various strengths, and all that kind of stuff, right? But you are definitely playing the player more than the character in most situations because of this like multi-layered mental stack you're building where everything is based off that counter. It's very satisfying just to get like the read, right? Like, cool, I got the counter. A lot of characters that have more advanced counters, like, oh, this is a mid kick specifically on my Yane. Whee! Go for the launcher, right? And then again, it's very satisfying on the flip. Like, I know you're just going to mash a counter. I got you dead rights. And then go for the ride in a very satisfying, big cinematic. Oh my God, that's more damage than I remember, actually. Don't get thrown by Leon. Leon's one of the worst people to get read by. Let's put it that way. He's going to send you for the ride, right? It's just a whole gameplay loop, a whole gameplay flow that makes you feel big brained, right? And that's always what the feeling you want. Like, haha, gotcha, right? I knew what you were going to do before you even knew what you were going to do. And that's always just a fantastic feeling. And Dead or Alive gives you that experience with effectively every character in the game. Because once again, every character is a defensive mastermind and every character is a grappler, effectively. And just to note, because every game had its particulars in this, I've been using Dead or Alive 5. Dead or Alive 5 last round's widely considered the single best game in the franchise, and I'll back this game against any other 3D fighter. I love this game to death, right? And they added a few more layers of the whole stun game. So like we showed earlier, like, okay, critical stun, right? If I can keep you going for just a few more hits, I can put that stun in red. And then from that point, every character in the game has at least one, some people have more than one, but at least one move called the critical burst. And it'll be highlighted here in your move list. It'll be like a different color, so you know it's special, right? So for like Ione, it's just forward punch kick. Doesn't look like much by itself, right? And say I get you in that combo, stun, do this. Okay, like it doesn't look like much. But if I can get you in that stun and like drag it out just a little bit, right? Enough where I'm putting myself at risk, because, you know, I'm giving you multiple chances to potentially counter out. But if I can get that stun to red, and then I do my critical burst, then all of a sudden that happens. And that screen shake, you can probably tell fighting game 101, right? That's not good for the opponent. So now if I manage to get that, whatever I do next is guaranteed. There's no way out. The only way for it to have gotten to that point is basically that you had a couple of chances to get out, right? Like I did the first stun, I did a couple more hits, and then boom. And also this move here, until that hits, you still have a chance to counter out. Like for Ione, it's only one move. It's only ever going to be mid-punch. Which means if my health bar, or rather my stun bar, is glowing red, that means you probably want to counter mid-punch, right? Because otherwise you're going for the ride. But then it's basically a whole nother round of will I, won't I, will I, won't I? Because then you try to counter out, and then I go for like the throw, and then, you know, that stuff we discussed earlier. Also, this game has like sort of supers, not exactly quite, but like big charge moves if you're critical health, where you can either get like a big cinematic attack or like an extra big launcher. And if I manage to get you in the blender on this stuff, then, you know, you're going for the ride, and that's guaranteed, right? So I give you multiple chances to guess out or like shake out, and you didn't do any of them, then that's just my further reward. And I feel like it heavily adds to the whole mind game system. And again, here, I'm specifically talking Dead or Alive 5, just FYI. So that's a lot of the core gameplay loop we just talked about, but let's talk about something that, to me, is just as important as everything else, and that's the stages. So Dead or Alive's got tons of just beautiful stages. So many. But stages are a bigger deal here than in other games. One of the biggest differences of a 2D fighter compared to a 3D fighter is 3D fighters' stages matter in a way that they, for the most part, don't in a 2D fighter. Like a 2D fighter, you have the middle of the screen and you got the corner. And just like a 2D fighter, you probably don't want to be in the corner in a 3D fighter, right? It's not to your benefit. Your options are limited. But 3D fighter, the stage changes the gameplay a bit because stages are not uniform, right? They come in different shapes and sizes. And in the case of Dead or Alive, quite a bit, elevations as well. Like the stage you're looking at right now, the aquarium, which is a beautiful stage, by the way, you know, it's fairly standard. It's a big circle with walls all around the edges. Now, different stage, you can see here, it's quite a bit smaller. It's quite a bit more cramped. You got a lot more to worry about. Because the walls are a lot more closed in. You have to worry about, like, Tina doing, say, a giant swing, because you're just that much more apt to hit a wall, right? You just take a little bit more damage. Or maybe we crank up the gas, right? Because depending on what wall I hit you against, oh no, what? You can take a lot more damage in a very cool and cinematic way. And now look at this. We're getting in a whole new area with a whole different shape. Again, in a 2D fighter, the stage is just mostly backdrop, right? Like some rare games like Injustice, stages might matter because of items and stuff. But other than that, it's just decoration. 3D fighters, it matters. And even then, most 3D fighters play it safe. Like maybe I can get you against a wall. I'll get a wall combo. Maybe depending on the game, we can get a ring out. Maybe if you're close to the wall, I can get, like, besides a wall combo, a cool cinematic throw. They mostly play it safe. In Tekken 8 specifically, things are getting a little more adventurous in the recent game because Shimbori, the person who was behind Dead or Alive 5 and 6, they hired him. That's why the stages are a lot more adventurous, right? But generally, it plays it safe. Things that are scary and different, Virtua Fighter 3 tried that, and it didn't do it very good. And the problem with that is it was a cascading failure because Tekken 4 was just copying Virtua Fighter 3, and they didn't know that weird stages weren't good. So then Tekken 4 had a whole slew of awful stages that create all sorts of problems, right? Where Dead or Alive critically succeeded, where the other franchises failed and then went back to play it safe, is they went all the way with it on so many levels. Like, hey, we're in water in Africa. Oh, look, there's a hippopotamus. Would be a shame if I Irish whipped you, my wrestling move, into a hippo. And yet, that's exactly what we're going to do. I can like throw you into a hippo and suplex you off the friggin' hippo. Or better yet, if I know my spacing, I can suplex you into the hippo as well, right? If that's the thing. So they get weird with it. And it matters in so many ways. And we're just going to go all the way into it because there's a lot to dig into here. But like Leon, back throw, right? It's like kind of like a choke bomb move. Let's go back to that exact same puddle with the hippo. All right, so now we're here, and we're actually not using the hippo. We're going to talk about the water itself. Leon has a water-only throw. So instead of the choke bomb, he's going to like try to drown you now, right? This only works in the water, and there's barely any water in Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, right? So it's a hyper-specific stage throw, and yet they pay attention to that kind of stuff because it matters in your water. And we're going to come back to the water because there's some rules there. What if we're near a very obvious big drop here, right? Like again, like just say basic throws. Leon has a move where he just hucks you. No science involved, right? And you can probably guess if I huck you over the edge, not going to end up good for you. And sure enough, like, yeah, not great for you. But it has so many implications just besides like, oh, I kicked you over the edge or whatever, right? Like Jan Lee, the Dragon Kid, we talked about it earlier in the video. Unblockable. Like you don't want to mess with it at all, ever. It's got two profound weaknesses. You can either counter it and the opponent will sidestep out of the way, or you can just duck it. So say we're near like a drop zone like this, right? And the opponent gets the read on me. Whoops! We're going for the big ride on that one, right? And it just creates like cinematic moments that you just don't get normally. Like not only did you get the read, right? You look cool for getting the read, getting the counter. Like you made me look like a dang dummy. Or say like if you have very specific counters, right? Like Bass has a very unique low counter for kicks. And if I know what you're going to do, oh, buddy, let's go for the ride on that one. And if you keep it up, like you're not going to feel too smart, just like beyond taking the damage. Like you're experiencing cinematic, fun gameplay moments. And throughout the games, there's lots of stages like it where like you'll just be fighting on the precipice the whole stage. Like they're effectively infinite stages. Like maybe they'll have like a little bit of a, you know, like rock pillars or something, but you can just keep sending people flying and flying and flying and flying. And that's by design, right? So you really got to watch the edges. Like it's scarier than just the base wall because you're taking a lot of damage every time you go over the edge. Something you want to avoid. Some stages have just honest to God uneven like terrain. They are not flat. Like you can be much lower than your enemy. And with like severe elevation differences, like some characters can get extended combos and some can get like semi-infinites or at least touch of death combos, right? It's not fair. It's not esports. Oh, Lord knows everything's got to be esports these days, right? But it was damn fun. And then we get to Dead or Alive 4 specifically. This might be my favorite stage in all of fighting games. So this is the Seaside Marketplace, right? And you just start off here and you're in a marketplace, you know, as advertised. And like, I know it's nothing nowadays, but like the fact that there's like physics, the fruit and all that can explode everywhere. Like that was just really cool, right? Like, so you're just fighting up and down the marketplace and you're just going to make stuff like explode all the time, just knocking the opponent into it. You can see there's like a very far backwards here with a wall on the one end, and you can fight up and down the marketplace. And there's just a whole other side. It's like a long, narrow area. It's not perfect, like a taco stage like we would call in Virtua Fighter. And elevation can change towards the end of it. But yeah, it's nice. But then it just opens up. It's a completely asymmetrical stage. We got a bit of a stairwell we can knock the opponent down on here. And some characters have very unique throws off certain stairwells as well. Then we open up to the beach, and then it's just expanded out, and we got to the water. And this is in the later games in the franchise, where water starts really mattering, and we're going to get to it. But just beautiful, like, it's asymmetrical on both ends. Like, there's weird elevation. It's not a stage you would find in another fighting game, and it looks super pretty. And we just talked about those steps, right? The stairs is part of this, the huge cinematic presentation. We've already seen people falling down the stairs and all that. But, like, a lot of characters have, like, unique stair throws. Like, look at that. Zack, he surfs your body down the stairs. How cool is that? Like, Bass, he just runs with you all the way down the stairs into a giant power bomb. Like, that's so cool. And, like, especially we talked about Bass earlier, like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Macho Man. And yet in DOA 4, he has, like, very Shawn Michaels inspired outfit, which is very odd for a plus size gentleman. But you know what? He rocks it. Maybe Shawn wasn't doing the double power bomb or anything, but it works for him. Like, the cinematic presentation, like, everything about the stage is unmatched. Like, look at this. Like, this stage here. Like, we have, like, all these, like, doors on the side. And you better believe all these doors on the sides, like, will act as walls. You can get smashed into them. Like, they're part of the stage itself. And I picked this stage for a reason. If you're a Dead or Alive vet, you already know where I'm going with this. But Hayabusa. This stage, you might notice there's some ceiling. We're inside a building, right? So there's ceilings. The ceiling matters in a lot of games. Increasingly so. Early on, it won't mostly matter for Hayabusa, but more characters can take advantage of it later. Because he'll knock you off the friggin' ceiling. Like that, his grab will do more damage because he's bouncing you off the ceiling. And yes, he absolutely can juggle you, right? But this is Hayabusa. Like, we can start doing stuff like that. Like, we can, instead of the usual Azuna drop, we can hit you off the ceiling and then smash you around even more. And God forbid Hayabusa ever gets you in a scenario where he can get a little bit more gravity on some of his moves. Because we're going for the big rides on those ones. It's just, he's a character that gets exponentially more terrifying depending on what's surrounding him. And this is Dead or Alive 4. Like, we got to show one of the coolest stages in all of fighting game history here. So this is the Vegas stage. And you might notice we're fighting on the street, right? And you probably shouldn't fight on the street because there's cars. And the thing about there being cars is, like, they'll try to avoid you, but, you know, it's hard to avoid traffic sometimes. Don't play in traffic, kids. You will get smoked by the cars. And by the way, if you're prepared, you can counter the cars. Yes, you can see a car coming and you can counter it. How cool is that? And also, Dead or Alive 4 is when you can start, like, going over things and attacking off elements of the stage. And by the way, traffic, to be fair, is two ways here. One of the, let's call it fun parts of the stage is sometimes you wouldn't necessarily see the cars coming. Like, if you're static, it will not try to spawn a car, but it'll, you know, try to spawn them when, like, you're facing the direction you could see them. But once they're spawned, and you're going to move around a lot in a fight, right? They're going to come and, you know, maybe you'll get a near miss like that one, but you can potentially get hit by a car you cannot see. You'll get a little bit of a warning with the lights, but that's about it. And that's going to happen in a lot of stages. Like, there are stages with dinosaurs. Why are there dinosaurs? Don't worry about it too much. But, like, you might just get hit by a random dinosaur because that's how life works. Now, another fun thing is stages. Now we're going to finally come to the water bit, right? So water and anything wet, anything slippery actually matters. It is not just cosmetic because it can introduce what we call slip stun. So here, notice me go for the low, right? And okay, I just kick them in their feet. Now, notice here, I hit them with the same move. It's a counter hit. Just, they'll fall on their butt, they'll get up, right? But now, same thing, if I do it to them while they're in the water, it's going to change how they react. Because now this is the slip stun. And you notice here, they slip for a good deal longer. The stun's longer than it should be, which will allow me to potentially get moves to be combos that normally would never combo otherwise. So when your feet are in the water, certain moves that strike your legs get a lot more deadly. The concept also applies on stages with ice. Usually every game has like a ice stage or a snow stage, right? So if there's anything that can slip you, once again here, regular hit. But if you're on a slippery surface, and then I get my counter hit on the low, you're gonna slip. And again, the stage dictates this. Like this stage, the whole stage is slip stun, right? Some stages might have a small element of water to them, depending on the game, and you might not always be in it, right? So it's something you have to actively pay attention to, especially for the characters that have the very rare water-based throws, because those will get extra deadly. And one of the cooler things about the series as it evolved, right, is the cinematic presentation of the stages kept evolving. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, the power blows, like the low level, or rather low health, like kind of desperation attacks, right? And one of the cooler things is you could actually use these to like aim at specific places in the environment, right? Like if I hit you against the wall there, it'd do more damage. And certain stage elements, like even if it's just over the course of like a regular fight, if you just keep smashing into them, like they can be affected. Stuff can happen. Like, oh no, oh, it's falling down. That's no good for nobody. Hope the train doesn't. Oh my God. And say I knock into the train now. Oh no! That's not no good for nobody, right? Like, if you want to be purely clinical about it, it's just like hitting you off the wall and like a regular thing, like did a little more damage. But like, man, the cinematic presentation is so much more than just like, I hit you with a wall combo or something like that. Like one of the most famous stages of Dead or Alive 5 is the Hot Zone. It's a very small, cramped stage. And you might notice there's sort of like a war going on and stuff, right? There's tanks everywhere. And like I can knock you around, knock you into these soldiers. And eventually, you know, like they're not going to take too kindly to what's going on. Like, oh, I just hit you in the wall. Oh, there's a rocket. And now like, well, I missed the juggle there. But you can juggle off of that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of sandbags here. I can knock you through the sandbags, hit you on the other side, expand the stage. Now, like, things are getting really crazy. Like, again, like, a lot of it's, like, kind of cosmetic, but presentation matters. And, like, if, you know, a sexy Tengu lady's fighting you in the middle of a war zone, like, it looks cool. Like, say we're fighting on this beautiful rooftop here, right? And say I want to smack you around a bit into that side wall. And like, okay, oh, what? A giant monster man? Well, sure, why not? I'll use my desperation attack to knock you right into him. And he can help just do the job for me, right? Like, stuff looks cool. The other really cool one's Scramble. So Scramble is another one where it is slightly uneven as far as elevation goes. The one thing to make it more of a competitive game, and to be fair, it's the most competitive game in the franchise, Dead or Alive 5 has a lot less uneven terrain. Not to say it doesn't have any, though, because the stage can start getting pretty uneven, as you can see. And depending on how you do it, like you can just start knocking people off stuff and just everything starts exploding, everything looks cool, and like the cinematic presentation on top of the gameplay stuff it all offers, right? Stages in Dead or Alive are completely unmatched in any other fighting game. So hopefully everything I've shown you so far in this video looks pretty cool. Maybe you're interested, right? So what happened to Dead or Alive, basically? Because Dead or Alive was going like strong for years. Like it was a very well respected series overall. Like, yeah, I know Gooner game, whatever, but like people like DOA. What happened? Well, Dead or Alive 6 happened. I've shown a little bit of Dead or Alive 6 so far in the video, but it's mostly been all the other games in the franchise. Dead or Alive 6 is the breaking point, unfortunately. So here we are in Dead or Alive 6, right? And what is wrong with the game? Like, obviously not the look. This is an old game, right? Dead or Alive 6 still looks better than most modern fighting games. It makes me wonder if they did DOA 7. Like, if 6 looked this good back then, 7 would be like a whole step beyond. And stuff like stages, like maybe it wasn't the best stages in the franchise, but like there was inventive stuff. Like there's fun stuff in them. Like it worked, but it's just a couple cases of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And well, the big call for what it is, overwhelming greed. So you might notice here, like there's super moves, like honest to God, super moves. There's super meter now, right? Before we had supers and like desperation supers, like low health, which is, you know, it was all right for what it is. But now there's an actual meter system, right? And usually meter's less a great fit for a 3D fighter as compared to a 2D fighter. Like, let's say Tekken 8, right? The whole heat system, mixed results. Let's call it that, mixed results right now. But they added it, right? And like on the fundamental level, if you have full bar, you get like a super move. That honestly, I don't got too much issue with. Like, sure, whatever, right? That wasn't the problem. That was the problem. And like, what I even do? That looked like nothing, right? So you could spend some of that meter to do a break hold. So we spent like a good chunk of the video talking about the counter system and how it makes the gameplay of Dead or Alive. Like, you know, high, medium, low counters. And for medium, there's two. There's kick counter, punch counter. The break counter throws all that like in the garbage, I guess you could say. So now if you burn some of that bar on the break hold, what is a break hold? Break hold is a counter that gets all highs, all mids, all lows. And yeah, when I say all mids, I mean also mid punch, mid kick, right? It gets literally everything. So the whole building block of being inside your opponent's head, what makes the game what it makes, this completely destroys it. Yes, it takes meter, but we never had meter till then. We got along just fine. Once again, the game before this one's the best game in the franchise. There ain't no meter. And so, yeah, that just removed so much of the element of what makes DOA DOA. Now, instead of like knowing, oh, it's a high, okay, I'll go for the high. I'll just like, well, I got meter, so this is going to take care of everything for me. And I'm just out of jail for free. And again, whatever it is, high, mid, low, doesn't matter. It just gets everything out of jail for free. Which that's bad enough on its own, right? But it also simplified the whole game because they added this as an option. They removed shake stun. So before, as I mentioned earlier, right, in the just talking about the game systems, you could like kind of shake out and get out of stun earlier. That doesn't exist anymore. So now when you're in that stun, right, like you always had the option to try to counter out, but you could also just shake out to recover quicker. Now you have to counter. You don't have the option to recover quicker. So now you have to counter, and because you have meter to effectively do all the guesswork for you, like there's no more guessing, like there's no more layers of mental stack anymore. It's just, okay, I'm in stun, bleh, I'll do the thing that gets everything. And maybe, like you'll throw me if I do it or whatever, but like the whole layer of what makes DOA just got exponentially less complicated. You got baby mode counter, no more understanding your opponent, no more understanding your opponent's character, just catches everything. And then like the other way you play the game of shaking out a stun is literally gone. And there's a lot more I can get into because like there's that's the big offender. They also changed how like Oki and pressure works and like a lot of stuff on knockdown and stuff, and not to the game's benefit. I don't really know anyone who was happy with it. They just made a lot of poor decisions for the core gameplay loop of the game. It's not that everything is bad. Like in a pure vacuum, it's a perfectly reasonable fighting game, but coming off what is Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, the best game in the franchise to that point, it was absolutely a step down. Like, once again, the game looks beautiful. That's a big plus. The game also gave all the characters all new core, like main designs. Well, most of them anyways, right? So a lot of these, I think, look very good. Like the Ayane one with the hood and all that. Like this is one of my favorite looks for Ayane ever. I think it looks sick. The like kind of Bruce Lee inspired Lei Fang look is probably my favorite look for her ever. The Chrissy look, like this is the most clothes she's ever wore, and yet somehow this is the best look to me. Like I don't know what it is about it, but it works for me. And of course, there was controversy at the time because like, you know, some of the ladies are wearing more clothes and like, oh, they're taking our sexy characters away. No, they weren't. Don't worry about that. Everyone has all their classic outfits. They didn't go anywhere at all. And actually, just while we're here on character select, like the aesthetic, like this whole like boxing promotion, like fight card stuff they're doing, The game's aesthetic is very strong. Like, there's a lot to like here besides the gameplay. Some of the things that were not as well, received. A lot of the DLC characters were people with DLC before. Like Phase 4 was already DLC. Mai was already DLC. Momoji. Like, these are characters we've played before, and yet they're on DLC. Like, people didn't care for that. The thing that got people, though, was the monetization. It's insane. Like, insane. There's really no other way to put it. Dead or Alive 5 had a good amount of monetization to it. And to be real, like, part of the reason it went the way it went here is it sold incredibly well. Like, it even had a free-to-play version as well. And they made money hand over fist in Dead or Alive 5. All the costumes, the free-to-play stuff, like, it made tons of money. And the lesson they took from that was, well, we got to do it even more. We need more DLC, more money. And they took it to an absolutely extreme amount. To be frank, like, there's nothing wrong with DLC costumes, right? One of the current problems we have in Street Fighter world right now is we want more. Like, you're not selling us enough. There's a market there that should be catered to, but there's also going too crazy, especially with, like, the stuff they were charging for. Like, if you wanted different hair colors, right? You had to use premium tickets to, like, change the hair. Like, that's silly. And the tickets, like, they ain't cheap, cost real world money. And back in the day, like, it's changed now. Back in the day, you had to buy them in, like, at least a set of 2. You couldn't even just buy the 1. And then on top of that, it's not like when you got the color, right? You earn the color forever. You just changed it. So if you change back, and you wanted to go back to the color you had originally, then you need another ticket. Like, this is nickel and diming you. Like, on top of, like, the, like, thousands of dollars of cosmetic DLC they already had for costumes. Like, that's nickel and diming you on an insane, like, they're charging you to change the hair, and you don't even permanently keep the hair that you had. What? Like, in no uncertain terms, this is like the same kind of greed that was the downfall of Street Fighter Cross Tekken. It was just insane. Like, maybe they took the wrong lesson from it, because once again, Dead or Alive 5 had a good amount of monetization, and it was very successful. Like, it worked. And maybe they read that as people just want more of this, but maybe there's too much of a good thing, I guess you could say. Once again, in a vacuum, this is not a bad game in and of itself, but compared to the last game in the franchise, it's just inferior. Like, competitively, it's probably the worst game in the franchise. Like, I'd rather play 2, 3, or 4, or definitely 5 than 6. Just because Breakhold leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And the stages look great. Like, it wasn't as good as 4 or 5. Not bad, though. Not bad. There were some good stages. Like, I quite like this stage, actually, quite a bit. Because it opens up as a lot more than just what it looks like, right? That's what a DOA shade should be, but there's not a lot of these. Generally speaking, in a fighting game, a rule set evolves over time, right? And in this game, the rule set sort of de-evolved. Like, it's literally less options. Break Blow became like a option that just sort of overwhelmed everything else. And they cut other options out in its favor. Then, they made the ground game less complex than it was before. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that wasn't great. Like, there's a lot of stuff that is great. They redid a lot of the animations, made everything look better. They added a lot of new moves. Like, a lot of that stuff of Fighting Game 101 in a sequel that you want is there, and it is good. But it is overall, like, a net negative for the franchise between just the actual gameplay, which is the most important part. Like, you don't gotta buy costumes. It's nice. Like, I like supporting games. I like buying costumes. I like cosmetics. But, I don't gotta have it. But then they do it, and it's the most insane in all of fighting game history. Like, to an amount where it's the thing people remember about the game all these years later. Like, it's not a thing we look back and smile about, right? So for a myriad of reasons, Dead or Alive sort of went away, right? We went from the best game in the series to the worst, basically. And is Dead or Alive dead? This is fighting games. This is just video games in general. I don't think anything's dead forever. But it's certainly on ice. Like, there's been rumors, I can't, I wasn't there, I can't speak for the validity of it, that Dead or Alive, they may have tried at some point in recent memory to bring it back, and then sort of pulled the plug on it. But then again, that's before the more recent fighting game renaissance we're currently in. And we have things like a new Virtua Fighter. A new Virtua Fighter, if it does even mildly well, can help open the floodgates for 3D fighting as a whole again, to everyone's benefit. Dead or Alive as a core is a franchise that's a very easy sell. Just put a bunch of sexy people in a very easy to understand fighting game system. I teach people fighting games for a living. It's sort of my job, right? And I'm here to tell you, Dead or Alive is absolutely one of the easiest fighting games to understand. There's all the hard stuff like any fighting game has, but like on a base floor level, it's one of the most intuitive, easiest to understand fighting games. Because like once you understand the counter system, how it works and how you work against it, that's already to intermediate, right? Like everything else is sort of gravy at that point. Like you'll learn the character specific stuff, the setups, the combos, all that kind of stuff. But learning the core mechanic of reversals, how to get around reversals, that's half the game right there. So it's very easy to just do a new one, get it out in front of people, maybe do a cool guest character or something that makes sense for the franchise. People like their guests, right? Do that and you can get it back in a big way. Just basically make a new age version of Dead or Alive 5. Don't do the meter stuff. Get rid of the meter stuff. At the very least, don't have metered counters that ruin the core gameplay flow of the game that made the game famous to begin with. But just back to basics of the game, you could do a lot. And of course, roll back netcode, all that kind of stuff. Do sexy costumes, do charge DLC. Just maybe don't do thousands of dollars worth and do weird like money grubbing thing like hair and eye DLC. We don't want that. So, sort of wrapping all this up here, because I know we're getting close to an hour-long video. I love Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive's meant a lot to me. I played so much Dead or Alive in my life. Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, Dead or Alive 4, Dead or Alive 5, and all its various versions. And I played, a good amount of 1 and 3 as well. I was actually very lucky way back in the day. I actually got to play Itagaki once in Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate. I think he was playing from Japan, because it was frankly unplayable, but it was quite the experience. The man was definitely a character, and he definitely went way too young. And as a man who spent most of his life on fighting games, he made one of my favorite fighting game franchises ever. So for that, thank you, Itagaki. Very few franchises are truly gone forever. I believe Dead or Alive will return, right? It might not be anytime soon. I think it'll be heavily predicated on the fact whether or not the new Virtua Fighter does well, because if it does decent numbers, then all of a sudden, like Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur, hell, maybe even Bloody Roar, they can all return from the grave. I think Dead or Alive has a lot to offer people in the FGC, especially in the modern FGC, where a lot of people don't know anything 3D fighter other than Tekken. I think a lot of y'all, if you got some time into DOA, you would be pleasantly surprised just how everything works. The characters are cool, the game flow is cool, the presentation is immaculate, best in class. There's a lot to love in Dead or Alive. Even the silly story, like you're watching here, Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate intro here. A lot of the earlier games just have like these like butt rock Aerosmith intros and all that. Like it was a whole vibe. But that said, that's kind of what I got to say about Dead or Alive. This is just really cool, and if you didn't know much about it, I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you found it interesting. Till then, I guess we'll see what the future holds. It'd definitely be a good sign of life if, say, a Tekken 8 later season, or maybe the new Virtua Fighter even, a guest character from Dead or Alive showed up. That'd be cool. But hey, maybe that's just me just wishing for the future. But anyways, we're going on too long, so that is it for the video, and that is it for me. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Dead or Alive.